Morning all. All right, news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet for your Friday, April the 4th. Also previewing tonight's action. We've got 3 games tonight in the National Hockey League. They're all early games, so I will also be doing the Saturday preview with the review for Friday's games. So just a heads up for everybody. So starting at the top of the board with some news from today, including Sasha Barkov. So Barkov's seen as day-to-day for the Florida Panthers. He's not going to play this weekend. One thing that Florida needs if they're going to go far in the playoffs is a healthy Alexander Barkov. So Barkov not playing this weekend is troubling. We'll see whether or not he's able to come back early next week. But at this point in time, he will not be playing this weekend. The St. Louis Blues, with their win last night, that's 11 in a row for them. Franchise record for them. And look at that. I made a video on their 10-game winning streak, and they won their 11th. So at any rate, things are going really well in St. Louis. However, Dylan Holloway is out for at least the next 2 games, and they're waiting on test results. He's seeing doctors. And once they know exactly what his status is, we'll probably get a further update on how long he might be out. If St. Louis is going to get on, keep this going, and if it's going to go into the playoffs, it's going to keep going there, they need all hands on deck, and that means Holloway needs to be healthy as well. Brady Tkachuk not skating. They were hoping he would be skating this morning, and he did not. So he's being ruled out for this weekend's action as well. Brady Tkachuk out, Matthew Tkachuk out, Barkov out. There are some big names right now that are not playing. And, of course, for Brady, it's more important that he's ready for Game 1 of the playoffs than to play in anything regular season related. So as long as that's the focus of GMs, and I would think it usually is, we'll see how many games Tkachuk plays in before the regular season is done and as Ottawa gets ready to play their first playoff series in a very long time. The Montreal Canadiens, so I'm breaking my rule here a little bit. Jacob Fowler was not a first-round draft pick. Normally I just report on first-round draft picks being signed. But there's so much hype about goaltender Jacob Fowler around the Montreal Canadiens that I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, he signs his entry-level contract. It starts next season, so he'll play in the AHL for the rest of this season. But he'll be in the NHL, I would think, next season. And that's probably going to be your tandem in Montreal. We could see Montembeault and Fowler as the tandem. Or at the very least, maybe you get Montembeault and Dobesh, and Fowler's down in Laval to start the season. Sort of like Askarov, right? Askarov's right there. Anytime San Jose wants him, I think Fowler could be the same for Montreal. It's going to be a fun time, I think, for Montreal fans in the coming years, because what they're building right now and what's got them above the playoff line right now should only make them better next season and beyond. The Washington Capitals continue to not really talk about how much time Logan Thompson's going to miss. Spencer Carberry just saying he's going to miss some time. We know. Shepard has been recalled. I like Hunter Shepard, but as I've stated already with a couple of cases here, for the Washington Capitals to do a lot in the playoffs, goaltending's obviously going to be a key. And if Logan Thompson's not 100%, and if they go with Charlie Lindgren, does that hurt their chances? It's going to be a very interesting playoff for the Washington Capitals. They haven't had this much pressure on them going into a playoff, I would say, since 2017. I'd go that far back. They did not have as much pressure in 2018. Not very many people expected them to go on the Stanley Cup run that they did. So, yeah, that pressure can be interesting. We'll see how Shepard plays if he gets into a game during this call-up. We don't know how long Thompson's going to be out either, because right now, GMs aren't saying a lot. Leon Draisaitl, speaking of not a lot being said. He didn't finish the game against the Sharks last night. It didn't look like it was a big deal, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes these guys get hurt, they skate off the ice, but they're out for a while. So Draisaitl, who was injured recently as well, and had just come back from injury, we'll see how long he's going to be out for Edmonton, but that would be a huge blow, as they currently don't have McDavid either, and they're trying to chase down both the Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights. There's an opening there for either LA or Edmonton if they're able to keep this chase going. So, yeah, Draisaitl being out is, I would say at the very least, highly concerning if you're an Oilers fan. The Boston Bruins now winless in 10 games, so by my own rule, we can talk about the Boston Bruins and their 10-game losing streak, and I kind of feel like this is something we would have seen coming with the trade deadline. They clearly took a team that was already not a playoff team and weakened it substantially. Even last night watching them against Montreal, my thought process was, this just doesn't look like the Boston Bruins anymore. This, like, they're wearing the jerseys, they're out there doing everything, but yeah, this team's done. We'll see what happens in the offseason and whether or not they're able to get the ship righted. But I'll talk about that in the video I do on Boston today. So, getting into tonight's action, we have 3 games tonight, as I've already stated. 2 starting at 7 Eastern, 1 starting at 7:30 Eastern. So, yeah, I'll be done early. Carolina is in Detroit. This game starts at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Carolina is pretty much sandwiched in second place. They're 9 points behind Washington and 9 points ahead of the New Jersey Devils. So if you're a Canes fan, you're getting home games for games 1, 2, 5, and potentially 7. The Detroit Red Wings would love a playoff game, but they are 6 points back. And at this point, I just don't see how the math's going to work for them. They're still alive, according to math. But when you look at their upcoming schedule and you look at the teams they'd have to pass, I don't see how it's possible for them at this point. So mathematically alive, yes. Playoffs, likely no. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start. The Chicago Blackhawks in Washington against the Caps. So Chicago gets to see this 3-ring circus for themselves. The Hawks are 2 points ahead of San Jose at the bottom of the league. They are 10 points behind Nashville. So pretty firmly entrenched in 31st in the National Hockey League. Whereas the Capitals, they're 9 points ahead of Carolina and 18 points ahead of New Jersey. Yep, they're winning the division, and that will be decided, I would think, over the next week. But one thing that may be decided over the next week, too, is in which game does Ovechkin get that goal that passes Gretzky's record. For tonight's game and going forward, for however many games it takes for Ovechkin to get the record, both Gretzky and Bettman will be at every Capitals game. And so if he gets a hat trick tonight, he officially passes Wayne, and we'll get some kind of ceremony for that. And honestly, all I can think is I'd rather they didn't during my early night. It'd be kind of nice to, be off early tonight, because ceremonies can take a while. So at any rate, Ovechkin may set the record against Chicago. One thing that goaltenders don't want is they don't want to be that guy that the record was set against. I believe it was Kirk McLean who was the goaltender of record when Wayne Gretzky passed Gordie Howe for the goal mark. That goal has been showed many, many, many times, and I'm sure Kirk McLean probably glad that his name's out there a bit, but probably wishing he wasn't the goalie of record on that one. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, the Minnesota Wild in New York against the Islanders. Minnesota, 2 points behind St. Louis for that number 1 wildcard spot, and 5 points ahead of Calgary. So the Flames are still fighting like they're alive in this playoff chase. Technically they are. And it will be interesting to see if Minnesota wins this one tonight. Because if not, and then if Calgary has a good weekend, maybe there's an argument to be made for the Flames being able to get it past Minnesota. I don't see it right now, but you just never know. Whereas the New York Islanders are 7 points back of a playoff spot, and it doesn't feel like they're in a much better position than the Detroit Red Wings in terms of being able to make a run towards a playoff spot. So the Islanders' season is probably done. Duclair's still on his leave, and by the time he returns to the team, I would think they're probably going to be mathematically eliminated. The playoffs are 2 weeks away. Just 2. 2 weeks from tomorrow, they officially start, and 2 weeks from today, I'll be doing all the preview videos, the series previews, and I could honestly probably just do the Carolina-New Jersey one now, but I do wait until each team that's going to be in a series has played their 82nd game, and then we get into the stats, the numbers, and the preview, and all that kind of thing. That's a fun thing to do. So 8 of those videos could be up next Friday, or depending on the scheduling, maybe I'll be able to get some up on Thursday. But and of course, since not every series goes on Saturday, I'll do a couple on Saturday as well. So yeah, it's a busy time, but it's a fun time as well once we get to playoffs. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, including your winners for tonight. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.